This tragic event to this United States citizen who came here the right way 6 years ago, this Bangladeshi national who got her citizenship the right way, it's senseless. It's a video you can never unwatch. Should not happen in this country.
America, if you watched any coverage on this case anywhere else, I need you to understand one thing, that most of the reports buried so deep that you probably missed it. Yasmin was an American citizen, not an undocumented immigrant, not somebody here on a visa, a naturalized United States citizen who came from Bangladesh, went through the full legal process, earned her place in this country, and was opening a gas station in Fort Myers every morning after prayer. She did everything right here. The man who came back to that gas station on April 2nd wearing the same clothes 3 days later so she would recognize him, swung a hammer at her. A federal judge ordered him out of this country in September 2022. Biden released him anyways. Biden gave him TPS anyways. Biden's TPS expired in 2024 and nobody came. 3 separate moments, you guys. 3 separate failures. 1 dead American.
It's just another tragedy that we're seeing again and again and again.
What is up, guys? Tyson DeLaCruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Before I get into the immigration policy and the Supreme Court case, I want you to know who Yasmin was, because the media spent most of their coverage on the man who killed her, and that's backwards to me. Yasmin came here from a small village in Bangladesh. She came to the United States, went through the immigration process the right way, the whole thing. She earned her citizenship. She'd been working at a register at a Chevron station on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Fort Myers for 3 months. She opened the store every single morning right after morning prayer. She had 2 daughters. She was their mother. She was their everything. On March 31st, 2026, Rolbert Joachin walked into the gas station. He attempted to use the ATM. It didn't work. He demanded cash from Yasmin. She told him she had no access to ATM money. He left, visibly angry. 3 days later, he came back, wore the exact same clothes from that March 31st incident on purpose. He told detectives later that he did that so that she would recognize him upon his arrival, and knowing what he came exactly there to do.
Detectives say Joachin had showed up to the gas station 2 days before the murder, where he was seen wearing the same clothes, a yellow graphic t-shirt and shorts, that he was wearing on the day of the alleged attack. In the moments before the horrifying killing, Joachin was spotted in the parking lot, holding a knife and a mallet, which he used to strike an SUV, which was reported by Gulf Coast News to be the victim's car. When she came out in response, he allegedly began to bludgeon the defenseless woman.
He struck her in the head. She fell to the ground. He struck her again and again. She was pronounced dead at 7:27 a.m., 13 minutes from first contact. Watch what his own words tell you about what this was.
Did he specifically tell you that he went there to kill the victim in this particular case?
He did.
He didn't hesitate there. The detective didn't say allegedly. The detective didn't say reportedly or based on statements. He did. Joachin sat in front of investigators through a Creole interpreter and confirmed he went to the gas station with the specific intention to kill an American woman over a broken ATM. Or he probably didn't even have money in the bank. Barefoot Haitian didn't even have money in the bank. Fort Myers police actually had contact with Joachin 8 days earlier, March 27th. They found him with a stolen backpack. They didn't pull up the federal removal order. They didn't call ICE. 8 days later, the situation with Yasmin happened. That's what happened on April 2nd. What I'm about to show you is what happened in Washington between 2022 and 2024 that made this all possible. This is the chain, you guys, and I want you to follow it because it's not complicated. It just requires paying attention to each specific link here. August 9th, 2022, Rolbert Joachin arrives near Key West, Florida on a boat from Haiti. It was a water smuggling operation. Border Patrol catches him. He's arrested, processed, turned over to ICE for detention. September 9th, 2022, a federal immigration judge issues a final order of removal. Out. Get out of here, Joachin. Finito burrito. That's a federal judge's legal decision here. Joachin is ordered removal from the United States. The Biden administration looked at the removal order and made a choice. They released him into the country anyway. Remember that beautiful catch and release policy that the Biden administration had? He was processed and told to show up to things and then disappeared into Florida. A federal judge said, out. Biden said, stay. Then 2023, Joachin applies for temporary protective status under the program Biden expanded for Haitian nationals. He gets approved. Now he has a legal shield. TPS doesn't erase any removal orders, but it makes enforcing it impossible while the TPS is active. Then 2024, his TPS expires. At this point, he's back to being in the country illegally with an active federal removal order still on file. Nobody comes. The system just doesn't show up here.
Prior administration allowed him to be released into the United States and subsequently granted him temporary protected status, giving him a legal safeguard to remain in our country. TPS, temporary protective status, was never designed to be a permanent stay in the United States, but for decades it's been abused as a de facto amnesty program.
De facto amnesty program. That's not something I'm saying. That is an acting field office director of ICE Miami standing at a federal podium. A Biden program that was supposed to be temporary turned into a tool that override federal judges' deportation orders on a man who would later beat an American woman to death with a hammer. Now watch what the Trump administration did the moment this case went public.
As of yesterday, the Trump administration stripped that safeguard, and his protections are now revoked. We'll make sure and coordinate that directly with the state system and take him once he's completed his time and make sure that he never gets to the streets of the United States and gets back to his home country.
Now let's talk about what Trump did with this case that no other president has done before. On April 9, 2026, Donald Trump posted a full surveillance video of Yasmin's murder on his Truth Social account. The Department of Homeland Security's own X has already posted the video a day earlier. At the time of this video recording, the DHS post alone had 1.8 million views. The Daily Beast called it a sick social media breakdown. The White House called it an obligation. Guys, I'm going to read you exactly what Trump wrote, the parts that tell you his actual argument here, because the headlines aren't giving you his words. Trump wrote on his Truth Social post, "I don't recommend you watch this tape because it's so terrible, but I feel an obligation to put it up so people can see what the Democrats are protecting and want to come into our country, even now after all that we've been through. Again, viewer discretion advised. Not for children." He also wrote, "The video of her brutally slaying is one of the most vicious things that I've ever seen." He described Rolbert Joachin as an animal. The White House spokesperson responded to critics directly, saying for years the media has been trying to conceal the dangers of Democrat policies enabling criminal illegal aliens to terrorize American communities.
The Trump administration has filed an emergency petition to the Supreme Court to end the temporary protected status for more than 350,000 Haitians. CBS News immigration correspondent Camila Montoya Galvez has been following this for us. So bring us up to speed. This is something that they attempted to do earlier, and now we're seeing a renewed effort to end it.
April 29th, 19 days from this coverage, the Supreme Court is going to hear arguments on whether Trump can end TPS for 350,000 Haitian immigrants, the exact program that gave Joachin 2 years of protective presence in Fort Myers after a federal judge already ordered him out. The DHS posting of this video, Trump's Truth Social post, every press conference since April 7th, they are all arguments being filed with the American public before that March 29th hearing.
We were not going home until we found him. We had, I think, a cop on every single block in the last confirmed area that we saw him, and we used every resource, like I said, from our aviation support, canine support, to boots on the ground.
Mind you, the same Fort Myers Police Department that didn't pull up his federal removal order since March 24th used every single resource available to catch him within hours of that murder. The effort is not a question. The system that was supposed to remove him years earlier is. April 29th is the legal answer to this, you guys, but the human answer to this case requires something that nobody in the Supreme Court chamber will say during an oral argument. The Supreme Court case Trump v. Barbara, the question is simple. Does the president have legal authority to end temporary protective status for a specific country's nationals? A federal appeals court said no. Trump said yes. On April 29th, 9 justices will decide. What that decision means in practical terms, you guys, a federal reporter explained it clearly.
Well, the hundreds of thousands of people, Kelly, who currently have TPS under the Haiti TPS program would suddenly become eligible for deportation and would be subject to immigration arrest, detention, and potentially deportation. They would immediately lose their ability to work in the U.S. lawfully, so it would affect them and their families, but also their employers, the companies that hire them, hospitals, and other organizations that are employing Haitian TPS. Program was always meant to be temporary in nature, that the Biden administration and other Democratic administrations unnecessarily extended this program for far too long.
Unnecessarily extended for far too long. That is the specific argument. The Haitian earthquake that originally triggered TPS was back in 2010. The program has been running for 15 years. Joachin arrived in 2022, 12 years after the original humanitarian event that created this protection. Biden used the 2010 earthquake to shield a 2022 arrival who had already had a removal order. That's the argument the Supreme Court is going to hear.
ERO has issued an immigration detainer and will ensure that he is never released into the communities or the streets of the United States again. We'll make sure and coordinate that directly with the state system and take him once he's completed his time and make sure that he never gets to the streets of the United States and gets back to his home country.
Never released. The federal government is not waiting on Florida's criminal justice timeline to settle this. Whether he serves time in Florida prison or an Haitian one, that detainer is sitting in his file. He doesn't walk free in America, period. End of story. The question the Supreme Court is answering is about the 349,999 others that are still protected by the same program that shielded Joachin. And the question nobody in Fort Myers has been given a direct answer to, the March 24th encounter.
Because Joaquin's arrest report indicates police had detained him on March 24th, just weeks before this brutal killing, after finding him with a stolen backpack. I'm wondering if there's a disconnect with law enforcement locally as well.
Well, I think there's not only a problem there, but I think probably in the judiciary system. I mean, I can't speak to that specific situation with the police there.
A congressman asked about government accountability on this case, couldn't speak to a specific local failure. That non-answer there, you guys, is what the Gorman family, the Sheridan Gorman case, heard in Chicago, what the Minter family heard in Fairfax County, what every family of one of these cases eventually hears. I can't speak on that, in quotes, right? At some point, the families deserve an answer to the exact question that they're being asked. America, here's the piece of information that has not been named anywhere in the mainstream media coverage as the legislative response to this specific case. The Lincoln-Riley Act passed in January 2025. It requires ICE to detain illegal aliens who commit theft offenses like stealing backpacks. Joachin was stopped on March 24th with a stolen backpack. You following me? Under the Lincoln-Riley Act, that stop should have triggered an ICE notification. Whether it did and what happened if it did has not been answered on record by Fort Myers Police or ICE. The question is still open. The Supreme Court case covers 350,000 people. The Lincoln-Riley implementation question covers one police stop 8 days before the murder. Both of those things matter here, you guys. Neither of those have been fully answered. Trump felt an obligation to post the video. He said it himself in his own words. He named the killer. He called the program failures. Here's her name for people that didn't catch it. Her name was Yasmin. She came from a village in Bangladesh. She came to this country legally. She went through the legal, entire process. She earned her American citizenship. She opened a gas station in Fort Myers every single morning with morning prayers. She had 2 daughters. She went outside to stop somebody smashing her car window because that's what you do when something of yours is getting worked on. A federal judge tried to remove her killer in 2022. Joey Biden said no 3 separate times. Trump called him an animal, and that is absolutely accurate. I'm calling her an American because that's what she was. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.